The more time you spend on your phone, Hanbin's voice resurfaces, causing Jungkook to look up at him. The more time you'll spend on decorations. Sorry, Jungkook mutters as he opens another pack of fasteners and starts unwinding the second garland. Taehyung puts his phone down when his message stays unread for too long and plies with his cheekbones. The man exhales noisily, tapping the corner of his phone on his knee, and looks out the car window as they are stuck in a small traffic jam. He watches as the sleet that has covered New York City all evening collides with the glass and leaves tiny wet trails as it hurried down. Droplets blur the night lights of the city, turning everything into an incomprehensible yellow-red bokeh, forcing the man once again to think that even now, on the other side of the city, in such terrible weather, Jungkook is still working, being next to Hanbin, and not resting but Taehyung. Is everything alright? His wife asks, still working on her laptop, and Taehyung sighs again, glancing at her. Does everything look alright? You're going to your club, Kim Tae-sha says disinterestedly. Just relieve your stress with the help of this boy and you will feel better immediately. That's exactly the problem, Taehyung snorts. Hanbin, the woman, arches an eyebrow, but even for a fraction of a second does not look up from the work on her laptop. And what about him? I texted Jungkook that I'm going to come to the opening hour so that he would dance for me. And what did he say to me? The man lets out a chuckle filled with disgust. That Hanbin is keeping him in that hole created for the holidays. As if something will save this dump, keeping him. The woman chuckles. Does your boy even know that outside the work shift, according to the law, no one can keep him there? My boy, even if he knows, probably won't able to say it, Taehyung sighs. He sticks to his job. Well, to both of them, I guess. Are you paying him so little? Tae-sha frowns and looks up at her husband sitting next to her. I thought better of you, dear, Kim, shrugging it off, rolling his eyes and leaning back in the back seat where they're sitting. I pay him enough. Even more than I should, probably. But he needs money for something, so. I don't know, he didn't tell me anyway. Let's start by saying you probably didn't ask him. She grins, and Taehyung nods in agreement. Not that I care, okay. Tae-sha finishes typing something, saving the file, and then looks up back at her husband. But I'm only helping you because it annoys me when you're tense. She presses a button, which lowers the barrier between them and the driver. Victor, she calls to the man. We'll stop somewhere before the moth. Jungkook never thought that an activity that, in theory, should create a festive Christmas mood, could only worsen it. But it is enough to turn the decoration of the room to work, and not a personal desire, and everything goes away pretty quickly. At least he had an hour and a half to make sure of this while he was hanging garlands and decorations, and his boss just walked around and corrected him, all the time forcing the boy to change something. Jungkook almost falls off the stepladder while hanging decorations on one of the walls when he feels someone else's hands on his waist. What are you doing? He exclaims fearfully, holding onto the wall as he twitches, wanting to pull away from the unwanted touch, and looks down. Sir, put your hands away, please. Hanbin smiles, standing a little lower, but doesn't budge. I'm just worried you might fall. Jungkook, I will not, the boy mutters through gritted teeth. Don't touch me. I don't like being touched, mister, so I'm asking you not to do that. I just don't want you to hurt yourself. I wish I could hurt you, Jungkook thinks, but he knows he has no right to say it out loud. Anyway, no matter how much of a jerk this Mr. Hanbin is, he pays his salary. At least he's trying hard to convince himself of this. I won't hurt myself. So take your hands off, please. I really don't, Lee. The boy's voice is interrupted by a loud knock on the coffee shop's closed door, and he almost falls over again when Mr. Hanbin abruptly removes his hands, moving to the door to open it. Jungkook exhales noisily in undisguised relief, shakes his head in disappointment, and turns back to the decoration, while somewhere behind him he hears the man muttering displeasedly about who could be brought in at this late hour. Taisha Hanbin's eyebrows go up as he opens the coffee shop door and sees the familiar face of a young woman. What are you doing here? Had a late meeting. She smiles charmingly with the corners of her lips, maintaining a confident expression on her face, and enters without invitation, holding a proud posture, as always. I was craving coffee, and then I see, she pauses, lets out a chuckle, and unobtrusively scans the coffee shop, immediately noticing Jungkook, who is standing on the stepladder before she meets Hanbin's eyes again. You're still open. Closed. Actually, the man shakes his head in displeasure. Didn't you see the opening hours on the door now? This is rude. Jungkook doesn't even hold back his eyebrows when he hears that tone, and thankfully no one else in the room notices, since he has his back turned to them. Watch your mouth, Hanbin. Tisha, whose face doesn't falter with emotion, grins. Have you forgotten who you're talking to, don't you think, Mrs. Kim, that the fact that I'm friends with your husband makes you special? The woman plays with her cheekbones, taking a few slow steps towards him, as if getting close to her prey, and it seems to Jungkook that the loud thud of her heels on the floor, heard in the deathly silence of the coffee shop, echoes even in his stomach. Don't you think, Hanbin, that my husband is my only bargaining chip? She narrows her eyes, slightly lifting her chin, and looks into his eyes. I never liked you, but, the woman shrugs vaguely. Taehyung finds it funny how you keep trying to compete with him in business, so I tolerate your presence in our life. But don't you forget it when you try to be rude to me. It doesn't cost me a snap of my fingers to send you as a businessman all the way to hell. Aren't you afraid to break your teeth? Hanbin grins, feeling her pressure, and even forgets about the presence of his subordinate. Mine. Taisha breaks into a smirk, and then with an imposing gesture straightens the slightly rumpled corner of his shirt's collar. You'd be honored, Hanbin, if I ever got around to dirtying my hands with you. Are you threatening me? Threatening you? Where's the manners? She jerks her hand back, brushing off her long thin fingers aristocratically as if she's touched something unpleasant, and tilts her head slightly to the side, gazing intently at Hanbin. Threatens is rather the lot of the week. Just your favorite thing to do, isn't it? She barely smiles. By the way, remind me, do you like breaking the law so much? What? Hanbin frowns, feeling that inexplicable confidence and superiority that a woman feels. He would like to know what is the reason for it. What the hell are you talking about? Tisha. The young woman laughs softly, shaking her head in disappointment, and sighs, suddenly looking somewhere behind her interlocutor. Do you know that leaving employees for overtime is not entirely legal? And I'm more than sure that this boy doesn't want to be here right now. Hanbin grimaces, waving her off. For God's sake, Tisha, go home. Stay out of my business. I just feel sorry for the boy. Mrs. Kim shrugs, then looks back at Jungkook. Hey boy Jungkook, she remembers. But she won't call him by the name, because, to be honest, she knows that Hanbin would never believe she remembered it last time. After all, who is he for her to pay attention, right? Jungkook swallows nervously, freezing, and the toy almost falls out of his hands as he, trembling, hesitantly turns to the place of the dialogue, which he would very much like not to eavesdrop. Yes, oh God, Jungkook sighs mentally. It's her. It's Mrs. Kim, standing there in her gorgeous pantsuit and expensive coat, looking like a goddess no less, speaking directly to him. Tell me, how long ago did your work day end? A few hours ago, he replies timidly, averting his gaze from Hanbin, who now seems to want to kill him. And this jerk is going to pay you for overtime. What do you allow yourself in the presence of my subordinate? Hanbin screams in angry, but the woman doesn't even deign to look at him. I'm talking to you for God's sake, Tisha sighs, raising her hand as if asking for silence, still looking at Jungkook. So don't know. I mean, I guess so. But I don't want that money. I wanted to go home, Jungkook. Hanbin's voice sounds warning, and Jungkook realizes he's a fool. He's a fool in danger of being fired again, but he senses such power and influence from Mrs. Kim that he can't even find the courage to not answer her questions honestly. You see, the woman chuckles, finally looking back at Hanbin. Let the boy go home before I give you problems. What do you have to do with him? Hanbin snorts. Leave my coffee shop, dear, before I call your husband. And what will you say? Hanbin, she shakes her head indulgently, laughing softly. Do you still think my husband has influence over me? What century are you stuck in? Since you think that everything works that way, just go home. I absolutely will. Tisha nods charmingly, but with such a fake smile, and Jungkook's stomach cramps from excitement and incomprehensible fear of this woman, bordering on frightening respect. But I'll leave only after you let the poor boy go to a well-deserved rest. Come on, Hanbin, you're making me waste my time on you. Hanbin sighs in annoyance and then rolls his eyes, realizing he doesn't want to fight her. More like he's afraid to fight her, Jungkook would point out if someone asked him. But no one did, so he'll keep that opinion to himself. Hanbin, snorting as he looks back at the woman, raises his hands. Jungkook, he gives the boy a quick glance, and Jungkook straightens out like a string as the man turns his attention back to him. Yes, so you're free for today. Tell Yoongi to finish with decorations tomorrow morning. Yes, sir. Anything else? No. You're free. And don't forget to close the shop. The man, once again looking at Taisha from head to toe, snorts demonstratively. I should have advised Taehyung to divorce you a long time ago. You're the devil incarnate. I just match my last name and my husband, typed Tisha. The woman chuckles coldly. And let me remind you once again that rudeness towards a woman, especially when she can so easily deprive you of everything, is a very stupid dialogue strategy. Hanbin shakes his head, then grabs his coat and phone. Tell Taehyung we're cancelling our lunch tomorrow, he snaps angrily as he moves towards the door. I have plans. What a joy! The woman smiles tautly after him. I think you'll be happy. You'll burn in hell one day, Kim Hanbin says to her already at the door, and Taisha smiles even more tightly. I'm looking forward to see you there, dear, she interjects before Hanbin slams the glass door loudly and angrily. There is silence in the coffee shop. The woman watches with palpable superiority as Hanbin gets into his car, leaving the area immediately, while Jungkook's stomach seems to have just digested itself with excitement. Otherwise, where did this unexpected nausea come from, if not from the realization that right now he was left alone with his boss's wife? With the same one whose husband he did obscene things with. So if any of those present are going to burn in hell, it will be Jungkook. And, most likely, in the very near future. And how long are you going to stay there? The smile fades from her face, replaced by a sense of calmness as she turns her head to look at Jungkook again. "Excuse me, just close this goddamn shop. I've wasted enough time already to put that idiot in his place," she sighs, waving her hand vaguely. "I wanted to thank you for that," Jungkook mutters uncertainly, fiddling with his sweater sleeves. If it weren't for you, I'd spend God knows how much time here, and I just go change and close everything in here. Are you going to wait for me?" Takes her time as she looks over at the young boy and lets out a chuckle. "Just do as you're told, Jungkook." Oh shit. So she knows his name after all. Jungkook is really in the shitty situation. He nods nervously, immediately putting down the toy and the duct tape he had in his hands, and frantically restarts cleaning up everything. "Can I make you coffee to thank you?" he suddenly ventures to ask as he steps behind the counter, and the woman looks up at him with a disinterested look. "I just want to get home, Jungkook. So do me a favor, hurry up and finish everything here. And, just for the future," she pauses, arching an eyebrow, "remember that I don't drink low-grade coffee." Jungkook swallows the lump in his throat and nods. "Yes. I'm sorry. Just give me a minute." He nervously nods and begins to untie his apron on his way to the back room, disappearing through the door of a tiny room the next second. Taisha follows him with her eyes, not hiding a tiny smirk in the corner of her lips. He's so embarrassed, innocent and frightened that for a moment she even imbue with understanding for her husband. The boy can really be pleasant to watch. Jungkook, as promised, appears a minute later, pulling on his jacket and throwing a backpack over his shoulder along the way. "Are you really wearing this?" The woman looks at his hoodie and jacket in disbelief, while the boy bites his lip in embarrassment. In the middle of December. It's winter outside. You're aware, right? I'm not cold. Yeah, of course you're not, she sighs, shaking her head. Anyway, just close everything here. The sooner I leave this dreary place, the better. Jungkook nods, immediately pulling out the keys and turning off all the lights. He only speaks the next time when he comes to the exit. "Me?" he asks politely but still timidly as he opens the door for her, and Taisha nods in satisfaction, giving him the shadow of a smile as she stops in the aisle.